Alright, welcome to Three Flat Caps and a Whippet, episode 2. This week we're going to be looking at release as our topic, but before we crack on with that, we'll just go around with all of us flat caps here, and we've got a Whippet with us as well this week, so we'll go around and just check in with everyone, see what they've been up to with work and with personal life as well. Luke, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, work's been busy, very, very busy, out and about around the country. 84 schools across 15 local authorities this year.
You don't need
it
to
deserves a little bit of a round of applause. That.
You don't need to sell it to us.
Oh, sorry. It's been hectic actually, really busy, but good. Nice to see that schools are wanting to have some support that's like non-punitive. It's been really good to get that out in schools. At home, equally as busy. My partner's pregnant. Yay! That sounded really good. Obviously you all know she's pregnant. But let's be a bit more cheery. She's pregnant! Yay! My first child, I'm buzzing. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah. Due in October, it's a little girl.
It's a girl?
I didn't know that. You don't know that? Yeah. We're going for Roxanne.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Roxanne, yeah.
Oh, every time that song comes on.
I know. I keep singing it. It's brilliant. I love it though. It's great. So yeah,
used to do a drinking game to that song.
Yes. Every time.
So someone had to sing when it said Roxanne, and then others had to sing when it would put on a red light.
Oh,
and then you'd have like a team opposite each other singing it.
Sounds dangerous.
By the end of the song it's about a 4-minute song or something.
Yeah, it's quite long.
It says it quite a few times, mate.
So yeah, I'm tired and I'm excited.
Not as tired as you will be in October, mate.
I know, I need to find some time to sleep now.
It's coming. Like
it's all worth it though.
I'm hoping so.
From experience, the two of my own, it's worth it.
I'll come to you for some advice.
Oh.
But yeah, that's me, Jay. That's what I've been up to.
John?
Bit more of the same, yeah. Finished a 6.5-month project in one of the primary schools that I was doing, and then I've gone back this week because they've had Ofsted in for 2 days. So I've just got to speak to the inspectors and tell them what I've been doing there over the last 6.5 months.
All gone alright? You think that's gone alright?
Yeah, I think it's gone decent. Yeah, they didn't throw me out at room.
Sounds a bonus.
Surprising.
Yeah.
Any tips for anybody that's got Ofsted coming up?
Know your onions. Make sure everything's in place. If you've been doing your job over the last however
Pickled,
many
right.
months or years it's been since they were previously in, then you're alright. You've got nothing to worry about.
Hope it is.
So yeah, there's that. Then I've got a project. So I found out what I'm doing next year, etc. And I've got a big project around Thrive approach for the 3 primary schools that I'm based across, and then building restorative justice and practice into behaviour policies. They're getting that pushed through, which is a big win for me.
Happy days.
Personal, yeah, it's just steady away. Booked an holiday. Happy days.
Very good.
I'm going to Zante.
Zante.
Yeah, so there's going to be right next to a hotel goes onto a protected beach in Kalamaki Bay. Loggerhead turtles. Get the lad a snorkeling mask. Let's see if we can find some turtles in the sea. He's mad on animals and stuff, so he'll absolutely be buzzing.
Brilliant.
So yeah, it's about me really.
I'll go for next then. Eh? For me, really busy at work. A couple of different projects that have just started that are going to be really interesting. Plenty of challenge in there. Hopefully linked up with quite a lot of support. Yeah, social discipline window, Mr. Mitchell. That's correct. What else have I got going off? I've kind of 70% the way through the first round of the induction program that's running where I'm at the minute, which is really good. Just finished a session today that wasn't something that I'd necessarily would have been confident in doing maybe a year ago, and even still today, probably a little bit nervous about it, but I've pushed myself to do more of that. It's been really good actually. I've had loads of great feedback, and they've felt like they've gone quite well, and I think you can see a bit of an impact as well with that. Stretch to say that you can see that it's actually having an impact on the school, so that's nice to see.
What was the session on?
Today, understanding play and development. So some quite, not taxing, but some quite detailed stuff looking at like child development and the different stages of play and things like that. Without diving in too deep, it was good. It was kind of like an idiot's guide to it. Because I'm obviously not a play therapist or anything like that, but I'm quite interested in it also. I've just kind of transferred my enthusiasm for all of that and understanding around it, whilst pinching some little bits off some people I've worked with before. None in the room. Just before you get worried, just to get a kind of understanding across to these new starters and induction people, which is good. Personal wise, I mean, rugby pre-season started, so I've been thinking about it like loads. It's just like every other thought I have is like the club. It's weird. Like doing loads of weird, stupid stuff that people that are not me probably think, why is that person putting so much time and effort into that? But I don't know. I just kind of a little bit obsessed with it at the minute. But it feels good, and like the training started as well. We're in his first week, so that's good. New coaches, a bit more of a positive feel around it.
You've been working out?
Been working out, mate. Yeah.
Can tell.
Thanks.
You're in some shape.
I just feel a bit healthier.
I've been doing more of watching what I'm eating. Just means I watch more.
Yeah, doesn't mean it's better. Yeah, that's kind of me. That's the flat caps. What we've been up to rounded up. I suppose we better introduce our whippet. First whippet of the season.
Of the podcast, the first whippet ever.
First whippet ever.
Medal.
Bit of a privilege to introduce somebody that I've known for quite a long time. Good friend of mine. Luke's worked with him as well in the past, and he's worked alongside us in similar settings. I've known this bloke for a long, long time. It's a great privilege to welcome Josh onto the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to be here for a change, and back where my education career first started.
Yeah. Do you want to just give us a little bit of an intro about yourself, maybe similar to how we've just rounded our kind of time up in what we've been up to, but so kind of what you get up to with work, and then maybe a bit of personal stuff as well.
Yeah, so Josh Smith, behaviour support learning mentor at a school in Royston in Barnsley. Been there for just over a year now. It's been different to what I've been used to since working at Springwell. But more recently, it's been working with the Year Sixers, getting them ready for their SATs, which seem to have gone quite well, and then now getting them and the other pupils that I've been working with ready for the next stage of their school life sort of things, whether it's the Year 6s moving up to secondary school or the Year 2s moving up to Key Stage 2 and into Year 3. So yeah, it's just getting them ready and getting them prepared hopefully for their next chapter and make that move quite seamless sort of thing.
It's a big change. I don't think unless you're in it, you quite understand Key Stage 1 to lower Key Stage 2, the sort of jump of the take.
Yeah, it's massive, especially two of the kids in Year 2, proper troublesome little lads, cheeky chaps as well. Quite heavily dependent on teacher assistant sort of thing, so for the first time at that school they've had 2 TAs in a classroom just for their needs sort of thing, and I think next year it's probably not going to be as heavy with the teaching staff, so getting them ready to try and not have that dependent on staff as much, because as they get further up into the years they probably won't get that when they're moving further on. So yeah, that's basically my work stuff. Personally, play rugby just like Jacob. So pre-season started like he's mentioned, and jumped on the propaganda bandwagon, going around doing all things Barnsley Rugby Club everywhere and trying doing as much as I can. But on the side of that, I play cricket in the summer. Not really. Yeah, it's not really summer.
Loads of cricket this year.
Yeah,
Looking out the window now, it's not the weather for cricket, and it hasn't been for a few days, I say.
Yeah, his last game got rained off, so we had a good video analysis session watching England in the World Cup. But yeah, it's been a weird one this year. I've made the step up into the first team. I've always been on the fringe sort of thing, so in and out of the first team. You could probably, without sounding big-headed, probably too good for the second team, but probably not good enough to be an outstanding first teamer sort of thing. So I'm kind of like in the middle, which is a bit weird. But one of the lads who used to play has dropped out, so it's made me sort of step up into that position.
Up steps, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, so it's a big step because the first team got promoted as well, so they're in their Division 1 of their league, and everything's just a lot quicker and a lot harder, so the people who are batting it the ball a lot harder than what you're used to, or the people who are bowling bowl it a lot quicker and want to knock your head off sort of thing. But yeah, I find it alright.
Sounds like a great sport.
Yeah.
It's all that pent up anger from rained off games, that's what
That's it, yeah. Try and make the best out of it and feel the frustrations. It's going alright, yeah.
Sound.
Nice.
This, like I mentioned at the beginning, this episode's topic is going to be release. Does anybody burningly want to start off with that? I don't mind starting.
Go for it, Jay, yeah.
My release, or the way that I think about release, comes from falling into rugby. So my release is going to be kind of sport and kind of physical exercise, as I think a lot of people's are. Speaking to the guys about this topic in the past, and I think all of us in the room, they'll be able to speak for themselves, obviously, but they've all been involved in some sort of sporting team or played some sort of sport. For me, it's kind of that physical exertion that's important, and kind of physically kind of releasing energy, releasing emotion as well. I think rugby's a big part of that though, because I mean, growing up and kind of developing as a teen, I think the different emotions that you experience, sometimes you don't necessarily know how to cope with them. I think for me, rugby was a real good platform for me to manage those emotions. So I'd got structured sessions throughout the week, whether that was one training session or as I was stepping up as a late teenager, training with seniors and college and things. I'd got more sessions, so I'd got kind of more routine in there. But then I'd got that physical contact and physical force kind of exertion as well. I don't know if anybody feels similar through kind of experience, but for me, it was a real good way to kind of release anger, release kind of pent up frustration about things. So, I mean, even now, if I've had a really bad week or I've had a bad day and I go to training or I turn up on a Saturday, I don't consciously prepare myself to get there. So I'm thinking I'm gonna necessarily like go and tackle extra hard because I'm feeling wound up. But I might get into a space in the game where I've got a moment of thought, and that thing that's frustrated me or previously, I might use that to psych myself up a little bit in the huddle beforehand to kind of raise my heart rate maybe, or raise my kind of thinking around it. Don't know whether obviously Josh, you play rugby with me, don't you? So I don't know whether yours is going to be similar when we get around to go to yours, or whether you've got something you want to add on to that.
No, just adding on, like I say, I think it's not just the physical aspect of it or being in the mental side. It's just being around a different set of people. So you're stepping away from that work life, and you're seeing your mates that you spend a lot of time with outside of work, and you kind of forget about all that when you're there. So taking the whole physical aspect out of it, the mental side of it, just that release in your mind, thinking, oh, I'm glad to see him. It's glad to have a chat, and just not talk about work. Talk about what's coming up and what you got plans for, and
you go for everything together as well.
Yeah,
So that's the thing. So you experience emotions as well in the team games. Like I play football like myself, and it's a team game still. Like when you lose, you all lose together. So you're all in the same boat. You have a chat about it afterwards. It's kind of that bringing everything sort of together. You experience everything together, the highs, the lows, and you usually with a lot of like-minded people out here because it's not something. I mean, we all choose what we're doing for a living, but you know it's a bit different in it when you choose.
Got a bit more choice, don't you?
When you choose it, because you can just go to a different team if you don't like the people out there, can you?
I do agree with that. To be fair, I do think it's not necessarily just about the physical side of it. I think that space to not even just not thinking about work, but just like not thinking at all.
It's a laugh though as well. It's a real laugh, innit? I'd never laugh as much as I do when I play football on a Saturday. Yeah. I said to my partner, it's like my therapy session. Every Saturday, same routine. Watch soccer AM in the morning. Yeah. Go to the bookies, meet my friends, go for a sausage roll at Greg's, and the banter that we have on the way there.
Sausage roll.
And then you're discussing the game and like the fixtures from last week, and then smelly kit gets brought out, and everyone dives in for socks and shorts, and then Gaffer turns up late with tops and gives you your numbers, you get on pitch, and I love that little routine, but the banter that you have in there, it's just such a laugh. And then you get the game as well to play.
Yeah. It's almost like a byproduct though, isn't it, the game?
Yeah,
you know, when you think about it from that angle,
it is. Yeah.
The actual the game is like just a happy ending of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where like the I suppose the emotional release and the benefit of, for me, linking to both your points, is that ability to just kind of switch off from everything other than where you are.
Yeah. When you're on that pitch,
it's almost like mindfulness, isn't it?
Yeah,
you being really present and just not thinking about anything else other than where you are, and laughing or kicking the ball or trying to get down. It's kind of being in that moment.
There's just a bonus of your body releasing endorphins as well.
Yeah, so it's almost like
it's like when you're kids and you play fighting, and it's like, oh god, they play fighting again, but you know you can't help but do it, can you? It's like when you're growing up. So it's like your body's reaction to it, you're releasing endorphins, you're having it's that sensation, that feel-good sensation, isn't it?
So, anybody want to jump in with theirs?
Well, just on back of that, so Snidelaugh Lake Football Club, that's who I play for, just a little plug there to them. Got my little t-shirt on at the minute. Don't boo us, we're booing as well. Just the local side in Wakey. All the lads that I play with as well, we all went to school together, so it's just nice to just keep that sort of relationship and that link with them. But that's my main release, is playing football. Other releases I have are probably not good ones, really. Have a beer on a weekend with the lads. Again, it's more of a social element, I suppose. But we do other things that we socialise with as well. I like to do a bit, like live a little dangerously, I suppose. Like climbing 3 peaks, again, doing it again on 10th of August. If anybody else wants to join in with that, feel free. Things like takeaways, just eating
Eating rubbish.
Eating rubbish just makes you feel good. It's just a nice release, especially if you're worn out and you're a bit tired. And anything that sort of gets adrenaline going, really. I like having a race around the track in a car. Done a couple of supercar days. They're absolutely amazing. I did my bike test the other week. I used to go on bikes as a kid.
Yeah, motorbike.
Yeah, there's nothing better than having the two wheels on the road and just going for it and just having. It's just nice. It's a little dangerous, but it's
Far
nice.
too dangerous for me, I think.
Far too dangerous for you, yeah. I like that adrenaline though. I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie. I like going to theme parks and stuff like that.
I love the adrenaline. I love the, it'd have to be a car though, 4 wheels for me.
Car with 4 wheels.
Yeah, I would be dangerous towards myself.
I don't think I'd survive.
It's not for everybody, but yeah. So that's my release. I like to plan things in. I like to do stuff like that and just get it off. I'm not really somebody that can sit there and be. Sit there and be mindful. I can't just sit in my own space. I find that really difficult to stay sort of just zoned in. I like cinema and things like that, but it's a little boring for me. It's just a little too mellow. I like to be very sort
busy.
of... Yeah, busy and that's it.
You were saying earlier that you've planned to do 3 peaks again. I think that sort of big challenge is a really good one for me.
Yeah.
So like it was the anniversary last weekend or the weekend before of when I did Hadrian's Wall in like 3 days. So we walked like 80 or 83, 90 miles, something like that, in 3 days. But like you were saying about the 3 peaks, I think something big like that, not necessarily a walk, but like we went to Wales and did a big downhill session and camped over. I think like a big event or like a big social situation where you're with people, or you're going through something with people. I think that's a really good one.
It's a good sensation, isn't it, that you get afterwards? It's hard to replicate in another way.
You feel like you've completed something, achieved something.
Yeah, so a good mate of mine, Charlie from Leeds, if you look up Your Mountain HQ, he's someone who's spoken about sort of SCMH, like mental health things in the past and what he's gone through. And he's now he's got sort of licenses fully fledged to take people. He's got his winter license. Mountains, he's Europe. He's got a cracking picture of him with I'm sure it's the Queen Mother cardboard cut out. He's on top of this mountain. He's got like Queen Mother next to him in this cardboard car. But he's classy. He does Snowdon. He does 3 peaks. He does all sorts.
I was thinking to myself the other day when that popped up. We have got to get something stuck in the diary.
Yeah.
Even I know this is slightly off topic to be talking about in front of everybody that's listening, but even if we just go and do one mountain, they're not that far away, are they?
No.
Or even if we do 2 peaks, so that we don't have to spend the whole kind of day. You've got travelling time. I'd love to go and do something like that before rugby kicks back in, because like middle of the season
shattered.
You're back on it. No, but like the weekends have gone then.
Yeah, that is the other thing.
You know what I mean? So you don't
so like a lot of our releases, that's a decent question really. A lot of our releases impact on family time and things, don't they? How does that like impact your lives? Like you've got kids, John. My partner's got 2 kids. How's your release impact your life? Do you have to find a balance in terms of like?
Yeah, and your balance is going to get trickier, isn't it, after October? I mean, all jokes aside, it's going to be when you've got something.
My priorities have changed. Obviously, I'm going to have a kid to look after, spend time with. But when do I get my release then? How do I find that? How do I go about getting that? Yes. Other than ordering a takeaway every night, which is not happening.
I don't know. I mean, you'll be more equipped to answer this than me, John. But I think you've got to make time. Just because you've got a baby doesn't mean that you stop doing things for yourself. And I mean, again, you'll know more, but I think if you try and make time for yourself, whether that's just playing on a weekend rather than training and playing, or whether it's you reduce your amount of sessions, because you've got the priority is the baby, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think if you make that reduction, so it's almost like the balance the scales out. The weight is obviously heavier on one side, but you still have to have something on the other side to.
You just got to be more proactive around scheduling that time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
just manage it a little
you've
bit
probably
better.
got a lot more freedom. So you'd be like, oh well, if you're meant to have gone training, you miss training for whatever. You've got tomorrow to maybe go do that. Obviously, when you have kids, it's a different thing altogether. So you've just got to be really mindful of how you sort of organise yourself when it comes to your release, I suppose.
I love a good bit of organisation.
Yeah, of course you do.
Luke has never said that in the history.
Said nobody ever about Luke Mitchell. Right, well...
Yeah, you want to stick yours in, John?
Yeah, can do if you want. Well, mine was always a bit easier, so sort of I taught myself to play guitar. I mean, I played football and things, so in terms of my, sort of release, I did a lot of athletics and football growing up and what have you. But taught myself guitar sort of mid-teens, maybe 16 or something like that, and it really did become, I suppose, more of a mental release, but something that really did sort of impact, I suppose, on my well-being. So, by the way, you know, I've been in bands and things. In a band at the minute called Skull. You know, shameless mention there. But,
Bit of a
you know,
plug. On iTunes.
Go check out Skull. Just Skull. Thoughts of the Others with the album.
SKULL.
yeah, just to spell it out. But yeah, Thoughts of the Others with the album, and it was like the first album that I've actually properly done, fully recorded, had mastered. We got it on vinyl, sort of gatefold, limited like orange, transparent orange colour and stuff. Like really proud of what we did. But I suppose in terms of the release part of it, one of the songs on there is called Payen. I'm quite fortunate. I've been to funerals and things like that, but sort of losing my granddad with the first sort of main family figure in my life that really cut me deep. Probably really triggered a kind of grief that, you know, and basically Payen was off the back of that. So I wrote the song about him and the whole situation of losing him, but still having him in my thoughts, still sort of having him in my mind, and as a release, the sort of going through that process of writing it was really cathartic. But actually work my way through my grief. And then I remember like the first time I actually played it live, it was so emotive, it was ridiculous, you know.
Imagine.
Trying to sort of keep my emotions in check while I'm sort of singing it and playing that song live. And to be honest, not just the first time, but you know, after that as well, it took a while for me to really sort of own my emotions while sort of performing that song in front of a crowd.
Where was it? Where did you play that first?
360 Club, so Hyde Park at the library in Leeds.
Yeah.
So that was the first time. I tell you what as well, we played the Leeds O2 Academy last year, and the sort of it came back again. So I'd kind of worked my way through this thing, but then to be playing that song to sort of like 1,000 people at Leeds O2 Academy, obviously the emotion of playing sort of that sort of gig in your own town anyway, just added to it and just brought it all back.
It's a brilliant venue, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's class. It really is. You know, the response we got as well from the crowd for the set was fantastic. It just kind of stands out when one of those songs that means so much to you, you're getting that kind of reaction. The issue is now is that due to work commitments and things, so we're talking about this with releases, Skull's kind of the band's kind of taking a bit of an extended kind of break because we've got a couple of people in the band that can't sort of commit the time to it. So now I've found that my release is the structure's gone. I'm not practicing every Wednesday. I'm not doing gigs every week, so I'm having to sort of pick up the guitar when I can. Bonuses, especially for my health, I've managed to get back on my mountain bike a bit more and get around sort of Temple Newsam, which is near where I live, which is really good, but it's just not quite the same, so I just need to really kind of figure that out and sort it out soon.
Yeah.
I'll set up a band.
That's it, mate, yeah, I might need to.
Threeflatcaps.
Yep.
I'm up for that.
Because it's just, again, it's like, you know, the sort of, there is a physical exertion when you're performing on stage.
It's real, isn't it? You're doing it, you're not just going through emotions. I think the emotional side of it links into the physical side of it. Especially when it's something like the specific song that you mentioned. It's real, and like emotion isn't just something that's there, it's a physical thing as well.
Yeah, I tend to throw myself around stage
like
a bit of a madman as well, so I usually earn a beer or two afterwards, like, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things that I think I'm just going to have to, like I say, I'm going to have to sort something out. I need to get back sort of on a stage and performing in front of people, because
I keep toying with the idea of buying a guitar again. I'm going to have to. My missus keeps catching me looking at it online like, you can't afford that. What are you looking at that for? I just love it. So it's only a limited edition Gibson Les Paul.
I've just sold a 100-year anniversary Les Paul Jr. mate. You could have had it.
Wondered. I suppose we'll dive over to Whippet then, and he's going to give us his release.
The lowdown.
Yeah, we'll give us the lowdown, the El Dizzle.
Yeah.
You've been looking at the Urban Dictionary.
Please don't ever say that again.
Sorry.
Especially on not just on a podcast.
Ever.
Just Jake, don't ever say that again.
Sorry.
He's got bear words.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. Everyone listens to this podcast knows what bear is.
Spending far too much time in Leeds.
It means lots, by the way.
You're not spending enough time in
That's what I've been told.
It's like a hip hop radio station.
Like when you used to play Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Flicks through the radio station.
I had the CDs, I had a box set CD, I bought the CDs for that.
I downloaded them on LimeWire. Remember LimeWire?
I'm part of a band, mate, I don't support that.
Yeah.
Pay your royalties, guys. Stop using Spotify and free. Go for it.
I'm iTunes all the way.
There are other streaming sources available.
Yeah, not for me. This is
Sorry, Josh, we like to talk, so we're kind of stepping on it.
No, it's funny because I steal off Jacob's iTunes, so it's...
That is quite ironic. He's my family member on iTunes, family membership.
So what's the release then, man?
Yeah, I think Jacob touched on it a bit, rugby, but I think I'm going to link it to John. It helped me a lot with grief. Cousin passed away recently, young age, 35, just an instant heart attack, really, really sudden. And it was very weird for me to try and comprehend because it weren't a cousin that I saw very often. So I couldn't quite comprehend that he'd gone because I didn't see him that often anyway. It just felt like I was going an extended period of time just not seeing him. So when I first got told the news, it was a bit of shock, but that was about it. And that shock lasted must have been about 5-10 minutes, and then that were it. And well, it probably maybe lasted a bit longer if you think about it. Like just walking up and down house aimlessly sort of thing, and like wanting to sit down, but then standing straight back up and stuff. And it was really, really weird. And my first sort of release from that was a rugby game. The next game that we played
Played at home, didn't we?
Yeah, I think it was Ripon, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we wore WAF socks. He plays for WAF Rugby Club.
That's a nice touch.
Yeah, so we wore WAF Rugby Club socks for him, and went through everything like I normally do. Me warm up, my routine, practicing my kicking and stuff like that. And it still didn't really click on, even though I got the socks and stuff like that. And one of the lads said something in the changing rooms.
It was really emotional. That,
yeah,
well,
and still then it didn't really click for me. And when it really happened was his dad. So my auntie and his dad are split up. So it's not my uncle, but he's kind of like an uncle figure. And he came in just before we were about to go out for kick-off. And he big bloke, massive like bloke, used to be an ex-copper, seen a lot of things, and he came in and he just broke down, and that just set me off. And this was about 2 minutes before kick-off, and I just crunched into a ball in changing rooms, got my towel, cried into my towel, and I was thinking, oh my God, how am I going to get through this now? And I just didn't know what to do, what to expect. But then I got onto that pitch, we did his huddle, I kicked the game off, and that was it. Poof! All them like sort of emotions, that high pent up energy, had gone, and I went through the game, and weirdly, I had my best game of the season, and I'm probably riding high on that adrenaline and that grief sort of thing, and like sort of feeling like an expectation that you were watching, and I don't really believe in going into heaven and stuff like that, but I did really feel like that day he was actually watching.
Do you think? Do you think that was it like instant? I'm just wondering. Like, was it instant as soon as you kicked that ball to start the game? Did it just kind of wash off you?
I think it was stepping onto the pitch, so crossing that whitewash, so coming out of the change room, stepping over the white line. That was it. So like, we did like a minute's applause, and I didn't really feel anything in the minute's applause. Going back to that state of just nothingness.
Like a numb.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe.
It's like lost as well, isn't it? Like you said, you're sitting down, getting back up again. It's like that lost feeling. Like you don't know what to do. You don't quite know.
You feel like you should be doing something, but you're not sure what that is.
Yeah. So I went through the game and I just kind of went through like anything that I do all the time, and yeah, like I say, probably one of the best games of the season, and kick the last play at game to sort of like win the game. And like the all sorts of pressure that you get from that, so the pressure of in a relegation fight, the pressure of trying to steer your team in the right direction, trying to win a game, and also all this happening in the background with the loss of my cousin. I just didn't really feel it, just because I was in the zone of rugby, and that is my release. And after the game, we did a huddle and everything, and everyone were buzzing that we'd won. And I went to go walk over to my mum like I do after the home games. I went to walk to the sideline, and as I walked over to her, I just broke down again. Just like the whistle had gone, the huddle had done, everything that was not normal had finished, and it just came back like a massive brick wall, and it just set me off again. And for about 5 minutes, I just cried on my mum's shoulder. People coming up to me, oh, I'm really sorry, and everything, and I was just inconsolable for that 5 minutes. And it is really, really weird that how I went through that 80 plus minutes of that game not feeling a thing, and before and after inconsolable,
Like
bawling
extreme,
my eyes
isn't
out.
it?
Yeah,
It's like from one end to the other.
yeah.
Do you think it helped? How do you think it'd been different if you didn't play the game?
Yeah,
Just think you'd
exactly.
go to the changing rooms and then decide I want playing.
Yeah,
How would it have been different?
I wouldn't have had that release. I wouldn't have been there to see my own Kev. I wouldn't have seen him come in and give his speech. I wouldn't have had that release because that was the only thing that triggered me from hearing the news to 6 days later playing the game. That was the only release that I had. I went straight. In fact, I had one day off work, but I was just sat around doing nothing. I probably could have gone to work. But yeah, and from then up until the funeral, once again, didn't really feel anything. And my next lot of release was the funeral.
Yeah.
The reality of seeing him in that coffin and the whole ceremony and everything. But yeah, if you take rugby out of it, I wouldn't have had that release, and I've had all that pent up emotion, building for 3-4 weeks until the funeral.
Do you think it's like a subconscious system that allows you to process it? Because I'm just thinking, like, I mean, it sounds like the emotional connection from the beginning was the thing that kind of fired your system up. So it sent you almost, all that pressure was there, all those emotions were there in somewhere. And then Kev's come in, and that's kind of twisted the cap off the top, or almost like a champagne bottle. You've took the cork off. That's slowly worn, like, oh, it's just, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of extreme to the top, and then you've come all the way back down because you've done that process has allowed you to have been on the field, of being involved with that rugby, and then another emotional thing has come along, so you've stepped off the field, almost gone back over the whitewash, seen your mum, and then gone back up again. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think? I mean, I don't know what you guys think. Do you think that is something that's there, that kind of subconscious process that allows you to work through that?
For that brief moment that day, I kind of like looking back at it, kind of thinking like, I wonder what it's like to be like a professional sports person, sort of thing, or any sort of profession, like the pressure that they have of playing in front of crowds and the people watching them and the media talking about them and stuff like that. Or my favourite sporting memory of Johnny Wilkinson kicking a drop goal in the 2003 World Cup final.
The only bit of rugby union I've ever watched.
Yeah. But it kind of makes me think like, oh, that pressure that they had to then go through and then have that sort of like release of energy afterwards, even though it's a different sort of feeling. They're having the feeling of jubilation and me going back to thinking about my cousin. It kind of on a similar sort of wavelength, thinking, wow, I've sort of dealt with something quite massive to me.
Yeah.
That's something that they've done that's quite massive to them.
Yeah.
It shows you what that sort of exercise, physical, whether it's mental exercise, through things, how much that is. I was just thinking then when you were talking about those games and you were talking about players, professional players, you think of Billy Sharp when he lost his son, played football afterwards, he had his, he had the t-shirt when he celebrated the goal, this is for you, son, sort of thing. And he's not the first. There was someone who'd lost their dad, who I can't remember the footballer's name, but they played shortly after and things like that. So it must be part of, because like you say, you had the day off work, but you probably could have gone to work. It's having that structure, I think, in your life, and that physical and sort of mental, that kind of period of time where you can shut off to everything else. I don't know, like you say, if you subconsciously just work through your grief through that time, because all you're focused on is the game. Are you sort of unwinding? So going back to the sort of analogy about the bottle, if you're a Coke bottle and you're being shook up, is that slowly? Does it allow you to slowly take that top off,
rather than
instead of just having that pent up
Mentos.
angst and everything else that you'd have had?
Yeah.
If you hadn't played that game, and then that'd have been more like that, I think. The champagne cork coming off, and it could have been going everywhere like a Formula One type thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you're onto something. I think like subconsciously being able to work through something, because when I sang the song, didn't mess up the song, didn't mess up anything. Played it flawlessly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's almost like I can. Thinking back on it now, probably worth thinking about my granddad at the time.
Yeah.
Whilst performing that.
But did you know that you were doing that?
Probably not, because you're so focused on one thing. But like I said, subconsciously, I think maybe you are, release, and we know the benefits of exercise, etc. But I think.
Do you think it's physical as well, though? Because you're physically playing rugby, you're physically playing music, doing something with your body. And
Well, we know the benefits of pressure, don't we, on you to like help you stay calm and regulated.
Yeah.
And focused.
But do you think that's part? That must be, sure.
So you've got a pressure of sort of the tackles. That's either pressure of holding,
your fingers on
holding the guitar
the
as well.
weight on
The guitar around my neck, you know, holding that. Yeah, maybe so. We do, like you say, we know the benefits of it.
Yeah. Fascinating. Thanks for that.
Cheers, Josh.
Unless anyone's got anything else they want to stick on top, that has been
Episode 2.
episode two. Yeah,
Release.
episode 2. We've looked at release, a bit of pressure. Thanks for all the honesty and the real stories in there. We'll be back. I'm not going to tell you next time's topic, simply because we haven't decided yet.
But if you have any suggestions,
Feel free to get in contact.
Any comments, any stories, anything you want to share, all that, it's good to talk.
If you've got your own releases, let us know what they are. Let's share them with people. Even just doing this conversation, we always say it was a bit of a release for us. So
Yeah.
just to get together and sit and have a chat, it's nice.
I'll link in my mates your mountain HQ as well. He's got some social media, so if people do like walking out, getting about up mountains and stuff like that, Charlie's your man is a cracking lad.
So give us a follow on Twitter at 3whippit. Send us your comments. Share us out there, and the next episode will hopefully be in a month's time.
So just one more thing.
Oh.
Luke's line.
Luke's line.
Oh, Luke has not prepared a line for
Luke's
this
line.
session.
We need
You didn't
Luke's
prepare
line.
a line for it last time. You just
You
came
need
out
to
with
just
one.
say it.
No,
Right.
it was clever,
You ready?
though, wasn't it?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Doing something that's productive is a great way to alleviate emotional stress. Get your mind doing something that is productive. Zig it, man.
Thank you.
Cheers for coming, Josh.
Yeah.
Thanks for
See you
having me.
later.
Thank you.
Did it.